Hello everybody, my name is Tobisatsu and welcome back to the channel. Today I was thinking we'd go over all the things I've watched in the month of January. This goes for TV shows, movies, all that stuff. Be sure to leave any feedback on what you think of this format, and leave a like if you enjoy it. To start, let's go with TV shows first. Throughout the month, I watched through It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, specifically the third season and the beginning of the fourth with my girlfriend. It's been enjoyable to go back and watch the show. Honestly, in the past, I've only gotten through the first 8 seasons, so I'm pretty excited to see where the series goes once we get to that point. So far, it's been consistently funny, and I really like all the characters. Charlie's easily my standout, and I think that Frank is really funny as well. The way the show finds new, scummy situations for the characters to explore never ceases to amaze. It's been good to rewatch it, and it's provided me with some low-stakes comedy to binge after my busy shifts. I also binged through Ultraman Ginga. I have more to say on this show than what I'm going to say in the video, so at some point I'd actually like to make a separate project on the series. A big goal for me this year is to actually binge through the Ultra shows I own. The show itself was more of a test series to see if Ultraman could actually come back after being in a hiatus. And you can kind of tell with the rating and just how everything is shot that there's this edge to it that kind of affects what it becomes in the end. I don't hate it, I don't love it, it's pretty meh overall, but it was fun to go back and rewatch this series, especially as this was the first Ultraman show I actually fully got through when I was a preteen. Headed into movies, let's start off with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This was my 4th viewing of the movie, so that should probably tell you what I think of it overall. But man, it's such a great film. I expected the world of this movie when it came out, and for it to actually meet my expectations, and upon rewatch over and over again even improve, I'm more and more impressed with it. It feels like a natural progression to the series, and it's on the correct trajectory for future entries. I'll definitely be rewatching it when it comes out on physical media. I'm not sure if anyone's seen it, but those new steelbooks, dude, they kinda fucking suck, I gotta be honest. So I'm not really sure what edition of the movie I'm gonna get once that does come out, but I'm gonna be very excited to rewatch it from the comfort of my own home. I finally had the chance to pop open my Shrek 4K collection and take a look at Shrek 2 with my girlfriend. For the movie itself, I mean, come on, Shrek 2 is fantastic. I think out of the 4 of them, it's easily my favorite. It's just beautifully paced, the comedy holds up, the emotional anchors are solid, and overall, it's just a grade A film. It's easily one of my favorite animated movies. For the 4K itself, I was pretty indifferent on it. I've mentioned prior where with something like the SpongeBob movie, the 4K really does stand out when comparing to the Blu-ray, in terms of color, quality, sound, all of that. And at least while rewatching Shrek 2, I didn't get that type of experience. Again, it didn't look bad. It's probably the best quality I've watched the movie in, but it definitely wasn't something where I'd go like, hey, get the Shrek 4K movie collection, it's so high quality. Maybe it's due to it being a CG animated movie, but I really did enjoy rewatching it though. And if you haven't seen it in a bit, give it a watch. There's some really good adult humor you might not have caught as a kid. I gave The Lighthouse a rewatch, and it was the first time my girlfriend got to see it. It's a personal favorite film of mine, so I was very happy to go back and give it another watch. I think this is some of Dafoe and Pattinson's best work. And Eggers, man, he just knows how to create this otherworldly quality in a place that maybe for someone like me, obviously I'm not living by the ocean, so it's a bit alien, but to turn this island with a house and general human supplies and make it seem like you're on like this distant planet, it's just incredible. The tension throughout is also fantastic, with the blaring of the lighthouse adding this ominous feel to scenes. Eggers has really stapled himself in my brain as one of my favorite directors working. The more of his work I watch, the better each viewing gets. The main reason I actually went and rewatched The Lighthouse was to pregame for my second viewing of Nosferatu. The first time I saw it, I was in row B of my theater, and I had my neck cranked 180 degrees just to view the screen. Needless to say, that's not the way to watch a movie. I still enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it made it to the top 10 films of 2024 for me, so I think that's telling of the film's quality. But being able to go and see it again in the middle of a theater, backed up a little more, just looking straight on, man, it just improved the movie even more. Skarsgård as Count Orlok is easily the standout. He brings this aura to him that really hasn't been matched in any films I've watched recently. Everyone else does their part, playing their moments, adding to everything, and it's such a good film. The soundtrack too, man. I think a good amount of people mention it, but the impact it has on the film as a whole to make it work cannot be understated. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Not long after that, I finally had the chance to watch Wicked. I've heard a lot of big things about this film. My friend loved it, my girlfriend loved it, just about everyone I've talked to seems to have loved it. And I gotta be honest, man, I thought it was just okay. In general, I'm not a huge fan of musicals, and that's completely a me thing. They just need to have a twist to them, if that makes sense. The first thing that comes to mind is Little Shop of Horrors, where that's one of the very few musicals that I genuinely enjoy. The production, the songs, all that. I mean, it's just fantastic. And don't get me wrong, the sets, the acting, the costumes, all of it is really high quality and Wicked. There's just a lot of things with the film, with the plot and characters that just hitch me. The movie wants you to feel a certain way at points, and at least for me, it doesn't really work. Like, to avoid spoilers, I won't get into it too much. But obviously your main focus here is Elphaba, and her build up to becoming the Wicked Witch. The movie tries to get you to feel bad for her, and at least for me, it just doesn't do enough. It's an unfortunate situation, but I just don't find Elphaba that likable of a character. And honestly, besides the GOAT Professor, I really don't find any characters likable here. Almost everyone here comes off as pompous and unlikable. And there's this sense of millennial snark with the characters that really irritates me. That's probably just a me thing, and again, I think it's just my dislike of general musicals that stops me from really enjoying this. And hey, if you enjoy it, man, more power to you. I can see why people really do enjoy this. Unfortunately, to keep the train going, I had to go and watch Flight Risk. Now, I gotta be honest, I thought this was gonna suck. So it's not like I came into this with high hopes. The biggest selling point was obviously Mark Wahlberg in a bald cap. And it seemed like maybe, if they did the idea right, that it could make for a good passive watch to see at the theaters. But I found that it dragged. I don't find the plot too interesting. The whole thing takes place on this plane, where an FBI agent, a criminal, and a psychopath who's the pilot are on this flight to get the criminal to spill the beans on some crime boss. Almost sounds like the setup for a punchline. Unfortunately, the punchline blows, and they overcomplicate the idea more than it needed. If done right, the basic idea could have been interesting. But with all the twists and turns and convolutions they try to add, it just doesn't work. Something that especially stuck out to me was the editing. It was horrible. There's a lot of times in the film, and you see it in the trailers, where the plane is about to crash, and the way it's spliced together makes it seem like the plane is constantly going backwards to extend the scene. It does not work. Mind you, there were points where I was having fun with the film, but it's not worth your time seeing it in theaters. Maybe if you have interest, wait for streaming, but it's not worth the theater premium. I finally got the chance to check out a movie that I've had on my radar for quite a while, that being The Raid. As the name implies, it's a movie about a raid. You have some special ops team who breaks into an apartment building that's hosting drug lords, criminals, shady people. And it's about them going in and trying to take over the building and get these criminals arrested. Honestly, I wasn't really sure what to expect going into the film. I'm sure you've seen an action scene that comes from this movie. I know I had seen multiple, and I really didn't know the actual raid aspect was so engraved into the plot. Mainly because the action scenes that I saw involved one guy taking on multiple people. I did enjoy the actual raiding aspect of the film, but the movie truly shines when you get to that hand-to-hand combat. And I mean, it's shot fantastically. It's fast-paced, it's brutal, There are genuine moments where your mouth will be gaped open watching shit go down. A lot of that is thanks to the editing and general choreography at play, but you have to hand it to the actors as well. Where the movie falls apart, at least for me, is the characters. For the amount of hype this movie got, I really thought there'd be more depth to the characters and the story. Which, I mean, for the action you get, it kinda makes up for it. But I compare this to something like John Wick 4, where the action is meant to put you in a state of awe as well. But I think where John Wick 4 succeeds and the raid kinda fails, is that John Wick 4 has characters. Kane, John, you have these feelings towards them, good or bad. Where with the raid, you were just following a group through their job and nothing more. Which works, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not as great as the hype has led me to believe. If you're a fan of action, it's 100% worth checking out. I wrapped up the month with the new release, Companion. As this is a fairly new release, I will not be going too deep into it, but I really did enjoy the experience. I kinda psyched myself out with it, and expected a bit too much from the premise, but as a whole, the film is a ton of fun. I like what it does with the theme of programming, both for people and AI, and the world building around the idea of this reality where companion bots are a thing is done quite well. Hell, we'll probably be in that reality soon. I really wish the trailers didn't tell you that this was a robot, because I think the reveal would have been killer. Pun totally intended. The first trailer did a great job in tantalizing you, where the second trailer kind of spoiled a good amount of the surprise. Sophie Thatcher is great, and her portrayal of Iris as she progresses through the story, finding out more about herself, was done very well. It's more of a dark comedy thriller movie than it is horror, which surprised me as I expected the film to lean more into the horror side of the plot. Everything else was done well, and I'd definitely say if you have any interest towards this film, it's worth your time. Also, insanely fun piece of trivia, but the writer and director of this movie actually wrote Fred 3, Camp Fred. Let that sink in for a sec. Welp, that puts a cap on it. What have you watched this month? Be sure to leave a comment with your monthly views, and anything you want to get to in the future. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and be sure to subscribe to see more content from me. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Tobisatsu, and I hope that you have a great day.